Welcome to Programming the Business Logic, your first look at Python variables, data types, and inventory management. Every business application, whether it's tracking inventory, calculating totals, or displaying status messages, starts with the foundations, storing data. In this module, we'll build the foundation from the ground up. By the end of this session, you'll be able to declare variables, identify the 4 core data types Python uses, and build a working digital inventory record. Let's get started. Before we can do anything useful in Python, we need to solve a fundamental problem. Where does the data live? On the left, you see the mess. A receipt with a customer name, a price, and a product name, but no way for a program to grab any of it. On the right, you see the same information is organized into a labeled containers that Python can actually work with. Those containers are called variables. Think of them as named boxes on a shelf. You label the box, put something in it, and then reference it by name whenever you need it. Variables are Python's foundational storage containers. Nothing works without them. Let's break down what a variable actually looks like under the hood. Here we have a container labeled product name. And inside of this value, laptop bag. Notice the diagram identifies 3 distinct parts. The variable name on the left, that's how you access it in your code. The value on the right, that's the actual business data being stored, and the type, which tells Python how to interact with this box. The quotes around laptop bag aren't decoration. They signal to Python that this is text. The quotes define the type. Remove them and Python would look for a variable named laptop, not a string. That distinction matters more than it might seem right now. Python uses 4 foundational data types, and each one maps directly to something you'd recognize in a business context. Strings, str, hold text, customer names, product descriptions, status messages, anything in quotes. Integers, or ints, hold whole numbers with no decimal points. Now, quantities on hand, so the number of orders or any count items. Floats, or float, hold numbers with decimals, prices, tax rates, discounts. Booleans, or bools, hold true or false values. Is this item in stock? Is the account active? Yes or no, represented by a binary switch. Now, every value you store in Python belongs to one of these 4 categories. When you pick the wrong type, Python will let you know, and usually loudly. Now let's put it all together and build a real inventory record. This 4-line block is a complete digital product entry. Product name stores the string laptop bag. Price stores the float $29.99. Quantity stores the integer 20. And in stock stores the boolean true. Notice that the visual on the right, each variable maps to exactly what you'd see on a product tag or inventory shelf label. On the screen, this data lives in memory, ready to be used. But here's the important caveat shown at the bottom. Running this script stores the data in memory. To actually use it, to calculate totals, check availability, generate reports, we need to execute business math. And that's what comes next. Here's where Python starts doing real work for you. We have a quantity of 20, which is an integer, and the price $29.99, which is a float. When we multiply them together, we get the total value. Python doesn't throw an error because of the type mismatch. It silently promotes the integer to a float and performs the calculation returning 599.88. This is called implicit type conversion. Python handles the math automatically when the operation makes logical sense. You don't have to manually convert when you multiply an integer by a float. Python already knows what you mean. This is convenient, but it also means Python is making decisions about your data behind the scenes. Understanding when that happens and when it doesn't is essentially and necessary to writing reliable business logic. Sometimes Python's invisible data handling isn't so helpful, and you need to look inside the box. That's where type comes in. The type function is like a barcode scanner for your variables. Point it at any value and it tells you exactly what Python thinks is in there. In this case, scanning your calculated total returns, or the class of float, confirms the implicit conversion happened. Why does this matter? When calculations return unexpected results or your script crashes with a type error, the first diagnostic step is to always verify your inputs with type. Don't assume a variable holds what you think it holds. Scan it. Think of type as an inspector function. It reveals the hidden data structure Python is working with behind the scenes. This is one of the most common traps new Python developers fall into, so pay really close attention. Follow the steps on the right. You prompt the user for a quantity. They type the number 5, and Python stores it. Seems fine, but step 4 is a problem. Input always returns a string. Always. The user typed a number, but Python stored the string value of 5 with quotes, not a numeric value. If you then try to multiply 5 by a price, Python will crash with a type error. It cannot multiply text by a number. The warning label on the left makes it explicit. This is a string, not an integer. The input function is a wolf in sheep's clothing. It looks like it's collecting numbers, but it's collecting text every time without exception. The solution to the input function trap is explicit type conversion. You take control of the type instead of hoping Python guesses correctly. Now the 3 labeled funnels here represent the 3 main conversion types. Int strips away text formatting and converts to a whole number. Float converts to a decimal number. Stir converts to a number back to text. In the code block, we have quantity input is equal to 20, which is a string. That is what input gives you. On the next line, quantity is equal to int, in parentheses, quantity input, forces it into an integer. Now it's a real number ready for math. Think of these as compliance funnels. Raw input comes in messy, and the conversion function cleans it into the type your code actually needs. Build this habit now, and you'll avoid the whole category of runtime errors. Here's the flip side to the conversion problem. Sometimes you need to go the other direction. The error on the left is a classic type error, cannot concat stir and int. Python is refusing to glue text and a number together directly. The fix is wrapping the integer in the stir function, converting it to text so that the concatenation works. The corrected output, reorder when quantity falls below 5, is what a real business status message looks like. A readable sentence your application can display, log, and send as an alert. Now there's a pro tip here, is shown at the bottom. Modern Python offers F strings, which handle this conversion automatically. Instead of reorder quantity falls below as a string plus stir quantity, you write the F string reorder when quantity falls below curly braces quantity in curly braces. This handles the conversion inside the curly braces. Cleaner, faster, and harder to break. Before we wrap up, let's build your error decoder ring. 3 errors you will encounter and exactly what they mean. Type error can only concat stir, not int to stir. So